Hello everyone, welcome back to JFO Aviation. In this video we are going over lazy 8s. I've generally found that this is one of the more challenging maneuvers to do for commercial pilot applicants, not because it's a difficult maneuver per se, but I think oftentimes, and this is something that I did as well, the fundamentals of this maneuver take quite a while to grasp. And what I think needs to be a constant theme throughout this maneuver is that there are, as we will go over, are checkpoints at each stage of the maneuver. And associated with those checkpoints are going to be parameters to hit. Okay, we're the highest here, fastest there, slowest at this point. The ultimate best advice that I can give, and I'm saying this now at the start, and I'm going to hopefully repeat it throughout the maneuver, is don't necessarily try to chase a certain number for this maneuver, right? Don't chase a specific altitude, don't chase a specific airspeed. If you fly the maneuver correctly, the plane is going to get there, right? It's always sounds weird to hear it when you're getting into this for the first time. But trust me, the plane is going to get where it needs to be. Use visual references throughout this maneuver, and nice, smooth, coordinated controls are the story of the Lazy 8. Now, I've thrown kind of those points out there. What exactly are we dealing with here? What is a Lazy 8? Well, this is going to be a continuous climbing and descending 180-degree turn. And you want to do at least 2 of them to do a full maneuver. So, we'll say that, series of climbing and descending. Climbing and descending. 180-degree turns. Ultimately, this maneuver is going to have the flight controls moving constantly. Important distinction. This does not mean that you, the pilot, are going to be moving the flight controls constantly, but the plane is going to be in a constant state of change throughout this maneuver, and that is going to, again, bring the plane to the exact points where it needs to be, right on time. Okay, this is done in a cruise configuration. And at or below maneuvering speed, because again, the flight controls are always moving. Cessna provides a number in the POH for all y'all 172 drivers out there that this maneuver should be performed at. They say 172 at about 105 knots. You might recognize this number if you've spent a lot of time in your POH. This is your maneuvering speed at max gross weight at 2550. I've heard some contrasting opinions here on whether this means you need to do it exactly at 105 or up to 105. I think a good rule of thumb is to use this as a maximum, to say, hey, if I know I'm at max gross weight, I got a couple people in the back seat, 105 is the most that I should be performing this maneuver at, right? Because that's going to keep you within the proper maneuver envelope. It's going to keep the plane safe. It's going to keep the plane healthy. If you start at 100 knots, you're going to be picking up some speed throughout the maneuver. You'll, again, stay in the right range. You'll be all right. Okay? So there's really not much not much prefacing to do in this maneuver, so we can really just jump right into the maneuver, how exactly we're going to perform this. So as always, we'll have our column on the right in red for our procedure. This maneuver is going to I'm going to use diagrams a little more heavily in this maneuver. It's difficult to describe this maneuver on the ground, so a lot of these concepts you will understand a lot better in the air when you're doing it. But having a high quality in-depth discussion on the ground, I don't think is ever a bad thing. So, procedure, we're going to start off as always by setting up the maneuver, and the first thing we're going to do is our pre-maneuver checklist. Pre-maneuver checks. Whatever you need to do to keep the plane healthy. So I will set the fuel selector to both in the 172. I'll put that and make sure that fuel shutoff valve is set in. Bring the mixture to the most rich point that I'm using for the day. Get those lights on. Make sure the magneto switches on both, and we're doing this in a cruise configuration, so we're going to keep those flaps up. Gear isn't going to do anything since it's fixed. And that is going to keep the plane healthy. It's going to keep the engine healthy. It's going to make sure that we're not overstressing any of our components. All right. Second point is going to be setting up the maneuver. So set up maneuver. Set up maneuver. What does that mean exactly? Let's get on the proper speed. So realistically, again, Cessna says 105. Realistically, let's say 95 knots. So we'll set speed 95 knots indicated. Because let's be real, it's often going to be you and your instructor and a couple bags in the back. So you're not going to be at max thrust weights. So, we can say 95 knots. Which is going to be about 2,200 RPMs in the 172. Also set up to maintain above 1,500 feet throughout the maneuver. So let's say altitude at least maybe 2,000 feet. Give yourself a little wiggle room. And third, this is arguably the most important part of this setup besides your clearing turns, is choose your references. Choose references outside. So, when you look out your left window, for example, if you're starting these to the left, there are 4 reference points that I want you to pick. First one is going to be your 180-degree reference point. So pretend that you're flying along, heading this direction, parallel and over this line. This is maybe a road, this is a canal, this is the edge of a cornfield or a farm, some long straight barrier that you can see that is going to give you a good reference in both directions. All right. Now, once you start this turn, you're going to be heading along a 180-degree turn. So this is going to be your plane. And I'm going to kind of try to make it a little bit in a 180-degree turn here. So bear with me for a second. I'm going to kind of undershoot the end of my line here, but right about there, give or take, right? Along this curve, we can keep all those drawings there. Along this curve, and I'll give you a different color, we're going to have 3 points. This is going to be our 45-degree point. Pretend my angles are perfect. This is going to be 90 degrees. And this is going to be about 135. So when you're flying along, on that line at the bottom here, you're kind of, let's see, give a highlight of you. This little guy. Pick a point that's at a 45-degree angle off your side, something directly abeam your wing at 90 degrees, and something kind of behind you a little bit at that 135-degree point. That's just a 45-degree, a little bit past the 90. And then, of course, you'll have that 180-degree reference point helping you out as well. And then before you get started, once everything is all set up, as always, clearing turns. Clear the area. That is a constant throughout every single maneuver. All right? So, this is setup. Maybe I'll write it along there. Now, once you've done all that setup, get yourself lined up over that 180-degree reference. So line up over 180-degree reference. And you can just fly parallel to it, right over it, same direction. Keep yourself moving straight. All right? Now, at the right point, you're going to start a nice, smooth climbing turn, all right? When I say nice, smooth, what does that mean? When we say that this is a lazy 8, right? Lazy. You as the pilot do not need to do much of anything. We can use a lot of the aerodynamic capabilities that we already know about to our advantage. For example, when we pick that nose up, we're keeping our power consistent. Our aircraft is going to start slowing down quite a bit, which means we're going to have a lot of help throughout this maneuver from overbanking tendencies. So your initial bank angle only needs to be about 5 degrees. So we're going to enter a climbing 5-degree bank turn. Five-degree bank turn. All right. Your goal is to reach this 45-degree point here at your highest pitch up of the maneuver. So, climbing 5-degree bank turn to reach highest pitch up at the 45-degree point. So we can go up to our reference here. 45 degrees. This is max pitch up. And it occurs to me, should give you an idea of what that might be. So that might be 17 to 20 degrees. And I'll kind of throw that down here. 17 to 20 degrees pitch. All right. At this point, you should not really be influencing the bank at all, and you're going to see this in the aircraft happening in real time. It's really cool to see. Without putting in any more bank turn, you are going to be at about a 15-degree bank at this 45-degree reference point. So 15 degrees of bank right here. Now, as you hit that 45-degree point, you should feel the plane want to start descending, right? You'll feel that nose want to drop down. And you can let it. You don't really want to be pushing the nose down per se, but if you keep a nice controlled control pressure here, you can let that nose start to come down as you reach that point. All right, so 6, let nose smoothly drop. I'll make that a proper M. Smoothly drop. And your goal for the 90-degree point up here is to pass through that, or I guess over that 90-degree reference point in a level pitch attitude. That does not mean cutting through the horizon necessarily. You might be still a couple degrees nose up, but you want to be passing through a level flight attitude. Let nose smoothly drop to pass through level at the 90-degree reference point. So if we come up here to 90 degrees, that's going to be a level attitude. And I'll give myself more room. Level attitude. This is also going to be our slowest speed. So slowest speed. Which is going to be, I really need a lot more room here, don't I? 5 to 10 knots above stall. So let me move slowest. Geez, that's going to be a lot of fun. Slowest speed, 5 to 10 knots above stall. And then you also are going to be at your steepest bank angle. It should be about 30 degrees. And then I'll throw up here highest altitude. It's a lot to cram in for one checkpoint. But that is all going to be your 90-degree point. Pass through level at 90-degree point, and I'll just kind of throw that down here as well. Just to make it more clear, this is 30 degrees bank. 5 to 10 knots above stall. Highest altitude. So I'll just put, actually let's do this. Max altitude. Now, pass smoothly through level. Now, as you pass smoothly through level, let that nose keep coming down. You're going to start easing out of your bank after passing through that 90-degree turn. So you're going to hit, 15 degrees of bank at the 45-degree point. As you bring that nose up, keep the bank coming. Let the plane overbank as you pass to 90, and then start smoothly easing out of the bank after 90 degrees. So point 7 is going to be continue descent and ease out of bank to 135-degree point. Okay, the 135-degree point, and I'll have to make some kind of little marker over here, is going to be your max pitch down. Max nose down. Roughly 17 degrees. And remember, I should have mentioned this up here with the max pitch up as well. Remember that your goal is not to chase 17 degrees exactly. but you should be able to just glance down at those instruments throughout the maneuver, and at this 135-degree point, you should be about there, right? You're also going to be at your 15 degrees of bank at this point. And you're going to be at your maximum speed. And then, once you reach that 135-degree point, you're going to pretty much just kind of kiss that max nose down, right? You're going to just let the nose just tap it at 135 degrees, and you're going to start smoothly easing yourself back to level. So ease plane to roughly straight and level. Just for simplicity's sake, I'll write to roughly straight and level. Let's see, let's move straight and level down to the next line. Straight and level at 180-degree point. As you pick that nose up, ease out of the bank, you'll have time to get set on your proper speed. You'll have time to level your wings. And I say roughly straight and level because, again, this is multiple constant climbing and descending turns, right? So at that 180-degree turn point, you're going to continue into another turn. So continue to another turn. In opposite direction. And then after that, return to, let's say, the cruise to kind of differentiate that from the straight level at 180. So your procedure is going to be here. What is that? Steps 4 through 9. Yeah. So procedure is here. And you can really reuse these points when you're turning in the opposite direction. That 135-degree point will become your 45. 90 stays your 90-degree point. Your initial 45-degree point becomes 135. The whole idea of this maneuver is to maintain your sense of orientation, to maintain control of the aircraft. That's the main thing throughout various flight regimes. All right? The best thing you can do in terms of flight control movements are, 1, set up this initial turn well. Right, that 5-degree bank, 5-degree bank, and a smooth pitch up to hit 15 to 20 degrees, give or take at 45. That's number 1. Do that. Number 2 is keep yourself coordinated, especially when you're going to the right and you have both adverse yaw and P factor pulling that nose left. Keep yourself coordinated. That's going to keep the plane stable. That's going to make sure that all of the forces, the aerodynamics you're relying on for this maneuver are going to stay balanced, are going to stay in sync. So maintain your orientation throughout the maneuver. Know where you should be. You can do this whole maneuver just by looking outside and correlating your relation to your reference points with where you should be in the maneuver. So you can say, hey, I know I'm over that 90-degree point. This is about where I should be. Hey, I know I'm at 135. This is about where you should be. You can glance at those instruments, look back up, and be just fine. Go out and fly these with your instructor. It makes a lot more sense after you've done it in the plane. You can see all of these aerodynamic forces in work. You can see just how simple it really is. The biggest baseline, don't try too hard. Be nice, smooth, stable. Thanks for watching the video. Comment down below any thoughts that you have about the Lazy 8. I wish you all blue skies and tailwinds. Happy flying.